In this video, we dive into a true crime story so shocking and chilling that no movie could ever match it. A young woman disappeared into the night after leaving a nightclub on a spring evening in Glasgow, Scotland. This is the tale of Karen Buckley, a nursing student whose life was tragically cut short, and the cunning murderer who ruined her prospects. Before we dive into the full story, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe for more gripping real-life crime stories that reveal the dark truths behind cold cases. Make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update and stay on top of every shocking development. I also want to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell me which country you're watching from. It's incredible to see how far these stories travel and how many people around the world are drawn to uncovering the truth. Your support helps keep these stories alive, honors the victims, and reminds us why these cases must never be forgotten. Now let's get started. Karen Buckley was born in Cork, Ireland, in 1993. I grew up in the small town of Mornabbee, which is in the countryside and north of Cork City. It was a close-knit farming community where everyone knew each other and families looked out for each other. Mary and John Buckley had 4 children, and Karen was their only daughter. Karen grew up in the quiet Irish countryside with 3 older boys. She had a friendly personality that everyone loved. As a child, she played with her brothers and friends at the village community center in Ireland's Green Hills. People who knew Karen said she was very thoughtful and kind, and she was always ready to help others with a smile. The Buckley family was religious and went to church every week. Karen's values of kindness and caring shaped her from a young age. Karen did very well in school and got along well with others at St. Mary's Secondary School. It was easy to make friends. She was friendly, open, and honest, and she kept close relationships with peers by spending time with them and exploring interests they both had. In Karen, she had a plan and a goal. She wanted to help people and make a real difference since she was a child. This calling led her to become a nurse, which was a great fit for her caring personality. Karen went to the University of Limerick after high school to study nursing. She worked as a waitress at a nearby hotel while she was getting her degree, showing the strong work ethic that would define her young adulthood. Karen finally got her degree as a qualified nurse after years of hard work. But this was only the start. She wanted to do well and become an expert. When Karen came to England, she got her first job at the Royal Alexandra Hospital. She became interested in occupational therapy during this time because it helps people learn, heal, or keep up their daily living skills. Karen was determined to concentrate, so she looked into programs and found that the University of Glasgow had a great master's program in occupational therapy. Karen, who was 24 years old at the time, came to Glasgow in January 2015 to start her work. It was a new beginning, and Karen went into it with her usual sense of hope. The busy city of Glasgow, Scotland, with more than 600,000 people, was very different from Karen's quiet town. She moved into a flat with 3 other students and did really well getting used to it. She worked hard at school while also enjoying the social parts of being a student. She quickly made friends with other international students and learned how to get around a new city. Karen and her friends went out and about in Glasgow on the weekends, going to clubs, restaurants, and tourist spots. These weren't wild nights. They were just normal things that college students do. Karen was getting used to her new life by April 2015. 3 months after she moved in. The morning of April 11th, 2015, was like any other Saturday. Karen and her friends were going to go to a club called Sanctuary. They planned to get there around 11:45 p.m. Everything was fine for hours. Karen laughed, danced, talked, and drank with her friends. There were no signs that something was wrong. Something changed after 1 a.m. Karen told her friends she had to go to the toilet. They gave a nod and didn't think anything of it. Karen didn't go to the toilet, though. She left the club completely and walked out into the cold night in Glasgow without her jacket. Why would Karen leave all of a sudden without telling anyone? Why did she leave her jacket behind? Still, no one knows. This question still exists, even though her case has been solved and her killer has been caught. Did she feel bad about something? Got a letter that made her feel bad? We have no idea. When Karen's friends noticed she wasn't back, they weren't too worried because they were in a busy bar and might have had a few drinks themselves. They thought she was sick, so they sent her home. It seemed to make sense. On April 12th, the next day, real worry began to set in. Karen's friends found out she wasn't at home. Her bed wasn't made up. Her phone rang but didn't answer. She wasn't answering her texts. Her social media didn't show any movement. Karen is usually very talkative, so this was very different from her. Karen's friends all agreed that something was very wrong. They called the cops to say she wasn't there. The cops in Glasgow didn't think this was just another late night. There were red flags raised by something about the situation. A sensible graduate student in their 24s doesn't just disappear. The police had to move quickly. Karen's parents in Ireland were told within hours. John and Marion Buckley had the worst fear of any parent. Their daughter went missing in a different country. In a few days, they flew to Glasgow to help look. The study went very fast. The police searched the area, talked to friends, and looked at security video. What they found was very scary. Around 1:07 a.m., cameras caught Karen leaving Sanctuary. But she wasn't by herself. A man was talking to himself while walking next to her. He seemed to be talking as they left the club, not on their way to Karen's flat. Everything changed. Karen hadn't gone off by herself. Someone had asked her out and persuaded her to walk with them into the night. The search got tougher. People in Scotland and Ireland saw Karen's face on TV and radio. Her family set up search teams. Volunteers searched all over Glasgow. Her picture was shared a lot on social media. Everyone hoped that she would be found living. That hope began to fade as the days went by. The man was quickly identified by police as Alexander Pacteau, a 21-year-old from Glasgow. Police went to his flat a few days after Karen went missing. When the police walked in, they noticed something odd. The smell of bleach and cleaning products was strong. The flat smelt like it had just been cleaned with detergent. This made people suspicious right away. If someone wasn't getting rid of proof, why would their flat smell so bad? Pacteau told his side of the story in this first interview. He said he met Karen outside of the club, talked to her, and persuaded her to visit him at his flat. Pacteau says they had relations on their own terms, and Karen then left on foot around 4 a.m. For investigators with a lot of knowledge, almost nothing seemed right. Karen told her friends she was going to the toilet, so why would she leave with a stranger? Why would you go to his flat by yourself? Where was Karen now if she had been seen alive? As the cops searched more deeply, they found bedsheets that were stained with blood. Pacteau was ready with an excuse. Karen hit her head on the bed frame by accident. He claimed it was only a small accident. Even though he gave reasons, Pacteau was the main suspect. He was taken into jail while police gathered signs. There was also a note written by hand that had everything Pacteau told the cops, word for word. This was another disturbing find. This made it seem like he had planned and thought about it, like he wrote it to remember details and stay away from contradictions. The probe went on while Pacteau was in jail. While they built their case, detectives looked for Karen in the hopes that she was still living. The next thing the cops found was Karen's things. Her purse and its contents were found near Dosholm Park, going the opposite way from her flat. This went against Pacteau's statement that Karen went home. Why would her things be going the other way unless she threw them away on purpose? A person who knew Pacteau told police that he rented an outhouse on a farm at High Craigton Farm to store fireworks and other things. This told police exactly where to look for him, outside the city, where he might have taken a body. A few days after she went missing on April 15, 2015, cops went to High Craigton Farm. What they found made their worst fears come true. Investigators found Karen Buckley's body in a blue barrel on the land. The young nurse who had hopes and dreams when she came to Glasgow was now dead. She had been killed. A blow to the head was what killed the person. Karen died because she'd been hit several times with something heavy. When her body was found, it was clear that she had been murdered, and Pacteau's story fell apart. He finally admitted it after being faced with a lot of proof. There was a lot more scary truth to the story, and it was much darker. Pacteau talked Karen into going to his house after they left Sanctuary. But what happened wasn't agreed upon. Pacteau hit Karen with a tool, which is a big wrench. He hit her in the head several times, killing her. Pacteau very carefully covered up the fact that he killed Karen afterward. He got a barrel and chemicals, such as caustic soda, to try to break down Karen's body and get rid of any evidence. He took her to High Craigton Farm and put her body in the barrel there. Pacteau was still working. He went back to his flat and used bleach to clean it up a lot, getting rid of all the blood and forensic proof. This is where the strong chemical smell that detectives noticed came from. He set the bloody sheets on fire. He threw the murder weapon away by putting the tool in a river. Last but not least, he cleaned up his car and put an ad online to sell it, showing that he was both guilty and cold-hearted. He was getting rid of any DNA ties to Karen. As the case grew stronger, detectives looked into Pacteau's past. What they found out was very disturbing. It wasn't the first time he attacked a woman. It was 4 years before Karen was killed that Alexander Pacteau was charged with trying to attack another young woman in Glasgow in 2011. Several things were strikingly alike. He met this woman early in the morning on November 27, 2011, after she had left a club called Garage. He earned her trust in the same ways he would later use with Karen. He told her he was looking for a cab and got her to agree to share one. But he struck in a quiet alleyway. He is said to have pushed her to the ground, put his hand over her mouth, and tried to attack her. People in the area heard the woman screaming and ran to help. They found her covered in mud and clearly upset. Pacteau tried to get away by hiding behind a transit van, but he was caught. He was charged with trying to rape someone. At this point, the law should have been able to protect other women from him, and that did not happen, though. Pacteau said he wasn't guilty at his 2013 hearing. His argument was cocky and dishonest. He said acts like that were cowardly and that he'd rather be charged with murder. He said he would have accepted it if he had done it. He said he always thought about what he was going to do and wouldn't risk getting in trouble. Pacteau came up with a different explanation. The woman hit him when he asked about her boyfriend, and they fell behind a car with him on top. He said he ran because he was scared and lost. In a very dishonest move, he told the jury he was gay, implying that this made him less likely to assault a lady. But before the case could be properly decided, technical issues stopped the hearing. The sound system in the courthouse wasn't working right, so the jury couldn't fully understand what the victim had to say. This, along with delays caused by Pacteau's major car accident, caused the case to be thrown out. Pacteau was in a coma for 4 weeks after the bad car accident in 2012. He broke his hip and ribs. He had to use sticks for a year because he couldn't walk for 6 months. His defenders tried to use this to show that he had mental health problems, but doctors said he was mentally healthy and able to stand trial. But the technical issues gave his defenders the chance they needed. The case fell apart because the jury couldn't hear important evidence. The charges against Pacteau were dropped, and he was let go. This mistake in the legal system killed people. Alexander Pacteau would not have been free in April 2015 if he had been found guilty in 2013. That means Karen Buckley would still be alive. Knowing about Pacteau's background helps understand his violence, but it doesn't make it okay. He went to a private high school and came from a middle-class family. When he was young, his parents split up because his dad's business failed. In an uncertain situation, he mostly lived with his mother. Even though he had a good past, he became dishonest and started committing crimes. He was found guilty of making fake money the year before he killed Karen. The court heard that he had printed fake $20 notes because he felt embarrassed to say he was getting disability benefits after his accident. To keep up the image that he was running a successful business, he printed fake tickets. He even tried to start a furniture business when he was 17. He turned to petty crime because of this failure, his injuries, and the fact that he couldn't keep a legitimate job. He didn't go to jail for that ticket scam, but he did have to do 225 hours of community service. After being given a second chance, he once again showed that he didn't earn it. Alex Pacteau was charged with killing Karen Buckley. He had no way to defend himself against the huge amount of proof, including her body, forensic traces, witness statements, and his confession. He went to court in September 2015 and admitted that he killed Karen. By doing this, he avoided a long trial where Karen's family would have had to give long, detailed evidence about the moments before she died. The full scope of his crime and plan to hide it were made clear at his sentence. The judge learned about how he systematically threw away proof, lied to police, and didn't feel any regret at all. He was given a life term in prison in November 2015, with at least 23 years to go before he could be considered for parole. He has to be at least 44 years old before he can be freed, and because of the nature of the crime, he may spend the rest of his life in prison. The judge's words made it clear how bad it was. He brutally killed a young woman who had her whole life ahead of her. He took away her future, her family's daughter and sister, and the work she would have done as an occupational therapist. He is now in jail, but there are still a lot of unanswered questions. First, and most importantly, why did Karen leave the club? She told her friends she was going to the toilet, but she didn't bring her jacket with her. Did she feel bad about something? Got a letter that made her feel bad? Was she not feeling well? This is still one of the most frustrating riddles in the case. Second, did Karen and Pacteau just happen to meet somewhere, or had he been following her around? Some agents think he might have been watching her in the club and saw that she might be a good target before she left. CCTV video shows him standing next to his car with his phone as if he were waiting to see who would leave the building by themselves. This means that the crime was planned ahead of time, which makes it even scarier. Third, why did he kill her? In Karen's case, there was no proof of assault like there was in the attempted assault case in 2011. So, what was his reason? Experts in forensic psychology think Pacteau may have killed her just because he wanted to, because he liked having full control over someone and ending their life. Not only does this make him look like a killer, but it also makes him look like a possible serial killer who was stopped after his first successful kill. Police think he had been thinking about killing someone for a long time. Friday, April 11, 2015, could have been his big chance. He tried to hide the crime, the chemicals, the barrel, and the planned dumping in a very planned way, which suggests that this wasn't all that spontaneous. Karen Buckley's murder had an effect on many people, not just her family who carried the biggest load. Alexander Pacteau is said to be pure evil and a coward by her parents, John and Marion Buckley. These words seem sadly right. This family has had to deal with not only the death of their daughter, but also the horrible truth about how she died. Karen did not die in peace. A stranger she had trusted enough to walk with her struck her and beat her to death. The Buckley family lived through every parent's worst fear. Karen's friends have felt a lot of guilt and pain, especially those who were with her at Sanctuary that night. They've had to deal with the fact that they didn't find her until it was too late. They know that they couldn't have done anything different and that Pacteau was solely responsible for what he did. But shame doesn't always follow reason. There were major concerns about problems in Scotland's justice system that were brought up by the case. If he had been found guilty of the attack in 2011, he would not have been free in 2015. Karen would have finished her MBA in occupational therapy. She could have helped a lot of people get better after getting hurt or sick. That's how she should have lived her long, happy life. Instead, problems with technology and the time it took because of his accident let him get away with his crime. In 2011, he attacked a woman. She was brave enough to come forward, speak, and go to court against him, but the system failed her. That failure cost Karen Buckley her life in the end. In many ways, Karen Buckley's story is a tragedy. It's the story of a young woman whose life was cut short by violent acts that made no sense. It's the story of how one man's bad behavior ruined not only one life, but also a whole family in town. It's also a story about how mistakes in the legal system can lead to death. Karen moved to Glasgow with hopes of getting ahead in her work and helping other people. Everyone who knew her said she was kind, sensitive, and caring. She showed the best of what people can be. Alexander Payne stands for the worst. He was an animal killer who had already attacked a woman and shown that he was dangerous. He was still free to kill someone else. People who knew Karen still remember her as the happy, loving person she was. Not as a victim. They set up memorial funds in her name to help other nursing students follow their dreams. This way, Karen's impact will be one of helping others, which is what she always wanted. Alexander Pacteau stays in jail, which is where he should be. He could spend decades or even the rest of his life in prison for what he did to Karen Buckley, but she can't come back no matter how long she stays in jail. What was taken from her family can never be brought back by a sentence. This is Karen Buckley's tragedy. This is why we should remember her story, not just to honor a victim, but also to honor a bright young woman whose life was cut short too soon by a man who should never have been free to hurt anyone. Karen Buckley's life was important. Her loss is important. It's also important to tell her story even though it hurts. Thank you so much for watching and spending your time here. Your support means a lot and helps this channel keep creating content that matters. Every view, like, comment, and share helps the community grow and allows us to keep bringing you videos that encourage awareness and mindfulness. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. Your thoughts and engagement help this channel reach more people and keep the community active. Every little action makes a difference and helps more people stay informed. Before you go, remember to stay aware, trust your instincts, and take care of yourself and your loved ones. Even small acts of caution and mindfulness can make a big difference in your daily life. Thank you again for being here, supporting the channel, and choosing to stay aware. Stay safe, stay alert, and we'll see you in the next video.